Hello everyone and welcome to episode 2 of Tabletop Tea Time, where a bunch of creators join me to talk about a topic. We highlight a creator each month and more. This month's topic is the Shelf of Shame, or the Shelf of Opportunity. Let us know which it's for you in the comment section below, and let's see what some creators have to say.
Hello, I'm Will on Rolling with Two, and it's Tabletop Tea Time, and my fellow teetotaler is
Sarah.
And today we're talking about the Shelf of Opportunity. For us, it used to be called the Shelf of Shame. For good reason.
For good reason. But we started looking at it more in a positive light of, well, it is an opportunity. It's our future of entertainment. And now that we do a YouTube channel, it's also the content that we're creating. I mean...
In fact, it was the inspiration for our YouTube channel, Rolling with Two.
The main inspiration, not the only inspiration.
Right.
But yeah, we were looking at our games like, we really need more incentive to get through these games so that we're not continually growing our shelf of opportunity, but actually trying to shrink it. And it was really hard to get that motivation, even though we love games, but you don't always play new games.
Yeah, we wanted to become board game players, not just board game collectors.
Right. But thankfully with doing the channel, well, we constantly need to do new content. Now we do content on games we've played before, but it's also helped us get through our shelves. And I have a few stats to share. So at the beginning of 2023, we had 69 games on our shelves of opportunity. And as of recording, which is late October, we had added 37 games over the course of this year. But we've also played, or what we call removed, because sometimes we start to learn a game.
And like, oh, this is not playable for us at all.
So they're not all played, but we've gone through 42 of them, which leaves us at 64 unplayed. So we are currently in an improved state of 5 fewer games unplayed than we started, but we've yet to hit the holidays, which usually grows it by about at least 5 games. I would say most of the time our shelves of opportunity are generally stable around 70 games. It just, we buy that fast.
Yes, and we can only play so fast.
We also have shelves for our expansions. We don't track them as much. We do track them whether they're played or not, mostly because they're taking up, 2 large shelves, and we've got a few on the floor in the corner somewhere. So we do try to get to those as well because, well, I mean, we bought them for a reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anything else you want to say about Shelf of Opportunity?
It's not nearly as bad as our Lego pile of disgrace.
That's our unbuilt Lego boxes, because that's our other hobby that we buy too much, more than we can consume.
Yes.
All right, well then, enjoy the rest of your Tabletop Tea Time.
Hi, I'm Josh from the YouTube channel Josh Yaks, where I talk primarily about unplugged hobbies such as board gaming and books. And we're going with Shelf of Opportunity, are we? Not Shelf of Shame? I mean, I don't really care what it's called, although I do appreciate all amazingly awesome alliteration, so Shelf of Shame is something that I kind of enjoy, but regardless, the fact is that my board game collection is made up of almost exactly 100 board games at this point, and of those 100 games, there are 7 games that I have not yet played, as well as a few expansions for other games that I have played. But in terms of these 7 games that I haven't yet played, at least 1, if not 2 of them are going to probably end up in my for sale pile. The Transformers deck building game is one that my youngest son had played elsewhere at another event, and he had enjoyed it and asked me to purchase it, so I had picked it up, but then he has never asked to play it since. So I'll probably sell that one. The World of Smog Rise of Moloch here is a game that I picked up for 20 bucks used from kind of a bring and buy event at a game store, and I was thinking of also adding it to my for sale pile after having a look through it. However, one of my nephews has expressed interest in playing it, so for now I'm hanging on to it. The 2 party games, Just One and Snake Oil here, are games that I'm pretty confident I'll get played with my family over the holidays, so I think those will hit the table pretty soon. As for Forgotten Waters here, this one looks like a super fun game. However, it also looks like it requires that I have roughly 5 players who are interested in sitting down to play 4-hour game sessions over the course of a campaign. So the logistics of that are pretty difficult, considering I only have kind of one primary adult board gaming friend. So that's going to be kind of tricky to get to that. But the 2 titles that I am very, very excited to get to are Warhammer Underworld's Night Vault. I've been very slowly working on painting up to the factions for this game. It's a game that is kind of like Magic the Gathering crossed with a minis battle game. So it looks super fun. I'm almost finished painting the second faction, at which point I'll finally be able to get it to the table. I'm really excited about that. And then 878 Vikings is one that I'm also really, really excited to get to. Although, again, there's a bit of a hold up in terms of wanting to get some of the leaders' figures painted. Although I should just play the game first. But regardless, those 2 games are games that I include in my top 25 games of all time, just as predictions of where they're going to end up in that list based on what I know about these games. So I am expecting to get to most of these games in the not terribly distant futures, and the ones that I don't get to are probably going to end up on my for sale list. Personally, I'm not somebody who goes for that whole collector mentality in terms of games just to have games. I do like to play the games that I own and get my money's worth out of them. So definitely looking forward to a couple of those in particular. Cheers.
Hello, Tabletop Tea Time. I'm Chris, and I'm with my co-host.
Hello, hello, I'm Angie.
And we are the Chasing Meeples. So we are going to talk about dice games. And this month's topic is the Shelf of Opportunity. Angie, which game are we going to talk about this month?
Dice Throne Adventures.
Yes. Angie, do you know what this game is about?
I don't. It's on the Shelf of Opportunity. We haven't played it.
That's true, but I can tell you, unlike Dice Throne, which is 1 versus 1,
We have
right?
played.
You know, player versus player. This is a co-op version. Now, what's cool about this, okay, is you take heroes, Dice Throne heroes or characters from seasons 1 and 2. I suppose you could probably put Marvel in there as well if you would like. And you work together to take out the Mad King. And the Mad King and I actually, we share something in common. Do you know what that is?
You're both mad.
We share another thing in common.
I have no idea.
All right. Well, much like myself,
He's got a beard.
he has not lost a game in over 1,000 years. He has not lost a battle.
Okay.
Yeah, I just said that. I have not lost any battles in over 1,000 years.
Okay. We're rolling. We'll roll with that.
We won't talk about the last time Angie played Dice Throne and she was Captain Marvel. Didn't count. Didn't count.
What about the time before that I was Captain Marvel?
That doesn't count either. I said we weren't going to talk about it. So anyway, yes, Dice Throne Adventures. You and your friends can get together, and it's an adventure, hence the name Dice Throne Adventures, and it's co-op, which is really cool. It takes the Dice Throne mechanics and puts it in ways that we wouldn't know about because we haven't played it. But someday we will.
We will.
Someday we will. Hopefully that'll be before the next Dice Throne Kickstarter.
Hopefully it's before
That's
next
here.
Christmas, because this was last year's Christmas present.
So we have a very, very short window to play the Shelf of Opportunity game right here.
Mm-hmm.
Angie, is there anything else you'd like to say?
No.
No?
No, I told you I would not talk about how good Captain Marvel was.
Okay, she's already trying to open it while we're talking. I think she wants to play it. All right, well, thanks for watching, everybody. Ollie, once again, thank you so much for letting us be involved in Tabletop Tea Time.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm slightly down the middle of Shelf of Shame or Shelf of Opportunity, because when you buy a game, I'm always buying it to play it. I can envision, oh, when that gets to the table, I think this group or these people or maybe I will really enjoy it, and that's why I get a game. So it's an opportunity. It does maybe become that shelf of shame when that opportunity sits on the shelf. Be that you've kickstarted a game, you were so hyped for it and it's finally arrived and just sat there unopened, or maybe it's that game that you've just gone in, you've maybe played it before but you've bought it to play it at home and well, you've never got quite round to it. Sometimes you've bought a game and it's off that shelf of shame, that shelf of opportunity straight away. And sometimes that feels good, but not necessarily all the time. Sometimes you buy a game, you go and play it, and then when you put it back on the shelf, you're like, oh, this other one has been sat there for so long. Maybe we should have played that first. And as a reviewer, I get the sort of side of things where, certainly at Spiel, I had a metric ton of games, of new games. And there's still one or two of those that I've not yet been able to get to the table because, well, you try and get many plays of a game before a review. So from that, I have a shelf of opportunity that I must go through because I've got to review these games that certain companies have given me. Whether they're good or bad, we'll find out. But from that aspect, it's different because it's not I've bought the game, it's I've got to play it to review it, but I've got to dedicate some time to it. And that's not always easy. It's not always easy dedicating time just to play a game that you want to play, let alone one that you want to play but need to play for review. But, well, where do you actually fall? Is it an opportunity, and when does it become shame? I think when you get a game, there's an opportunity. The next couple of weeks, it's sat there as an opportunity. But I think if it's been there on that shelf for longer than a month, well, I think that's starting to become shelf of shame worthy. But maybe for everyone, maybe that time is different. Maybe if it's on there for longer than a week, it's really bad for you. Or maybe you don't play that frequently, and a couple of months isn't too bad as long as it gets to the table. But yes, that's where I sit. I think it's a shelf of shame and opportunity, and there's a blurred line in the middle of when it crosses from one to the other. Anyway, let's find out about a game that you've probably never heard of.
Hey everybody, I'm Evan, and today I'm going to show you a game that you have probably never heard of. So everyone uses the terms, right? Shelf of shame, shelf of opportunity. I prefer the term unplayed game in the collection because a board game collection really is what I have here. Because sometimes, in some cases, I do enjoy owning the game as much as I would enjoy playing it. So sometimes more obscure games, or maybe games that I just bought for a specific reason, don't get played like the other ones do. So today I'm going to go to that shelf and pull out a game that I have not played yet. And it's one that I've owned since 2015. So it's been unplayed in my collection for quite a long time. And that one is called Grave Robbers 2 Skippy's Revenge. Have you heard of it? Well, let's go down to the table and check it out. So Grave Robbers 2 Skippy's Revenge is actually a sequel to Grave Robbers from Outer Space, which is a card game that we have played. I believe you can combine the two, but let's get that out of here. This one has sat on my shelf since 2015, not only unplayed, but unopened. So while I'm opening this, let's go over some stats here. It is a game for 2 to 6 players, and it was released in 2003. It was designed by Steve Tassi, who you may recognize that name from Snakes and Lattes, because he's like the Snakes and Lattes guy, right? He had I think he had a segment on Board Game Breakfast or something at one time on the Dice Tower, so you've probably seen him around. Little instructions here. All of these cards have the same back. Let's see here. So the idea of this game is you are playing a hand of cards, trying to make a B movie, right? So you're trying to have like special effects. There's special effects. There is characters. There is creatures. There is locations. So I think you're trying to get these into your movie, and make as, get as many points as you can. I believe these are points. Here's the thing. I haven't played this, or I haven't played the other one for a very long time. So my recollection is pretty bad. You think I would bust this out, right? So it's basically just a card game, right? I know there was one fun part where you take, you flip these cards upside down, and you can make you make the title of the movie. So I think you randomly pick these. So you have Foul, Packed House, and this would be the name of the movie that you're making. And then if you have one of these cards in your movie at the end of the game, I believe then you get extra points. Let's see what else. Let us see what else we can make here. We can make Dead, Hunter, Mausoleum. So I don't know, that kind of adds to the fun of the game. But basically, think something like a Take That type game where you are playing good cards on yourself for points and then playing negative cards on the other player. That's basically the game. But if you really lean into the theme, with these characters, Hitchhiker, Mortician, Starship Commander, Town Drunk, and then there's creatures like the Disembodied Brain. And I believe the game ends, I think, when this card comes up. I don't even remember. Ghost Ship, It's Alive, Poison Fog. And I don't know, I think maybe these special effect are cards that do things. Oh, look, and then there's props like a drill, alien artifact, canister of mysterious goo, that sort of thing. That's the game. It's these cards. So, all right, let's go back to the table and, let's wrap this thing up. So there you have it. That's Grave Robbers 2, Skippy's Revenge. Is it a good game? Is it a great game? Probably not. Is it a potentially fun game? Yeah, I think so. Especially if you're like me, where you like B-movie cliches or like cheesiness, or maybe just kind of the theme is going to pull you through maybe a game that's not like the greatest in the world, which sometimes is enough for me, especially if I really like the theme. So the question is, where do you find this game? Well, the bad news is it's sadly way out of print. There are copies available on eBay if you want to go track one down, but I don't think it's worth the price you're going to pay. However, the good news is there was a recently funded Kickstarter for like a new edition. I believe it kind of mixes all of the games in this series together, or there's like packs or something. But if you go look at that Kickstarter, the art is different, and I think it has a different kind of vibe to it. But it's there. So there's a new edition that's at least coming. So yeah, there you go. All right, well, hey, thanks for having me on this tea time once again. And we'll see you next time. Well, I'll show you some other strange game that you've probably never heard of. See you later, everybody.
Hi, it's Barb, Meeple PhD, and with this segment, I wanted to look at some things in board games that I'm finding that are astronomically related, but not in astronomy-themed board games that have just kind of delighted me when I've seen them. This time, I want to talk about Century Golem Edition. This is a reskin of another game called Century Spice Road, but specifically, I'm talking about the Golem Edition because you're not going to find this card in the other version. So in this game, you are using cards in your hand to trade gems. You're also trying to get other cards in your hand to improve your trades and kind of get a little engine going so that you can trade, your yellow gems into something more valuable, and then kind of get all the way up to the most valuable, and then maybe turn one of those in for a whole bunch of the less valuable ones. But the whole time, what you are ultimately trying to do is trade to get gems in order to bring golems into your society. And this is the card that absolutely delighted me. It's an observatory. I love a few things about this card. One of the things I like is that it is that stereotypical, if I were to tell you, think about a ground-based observatory telescope, this is what you would think of, that building with the giant dome on top. The dome has a little slit in it so that that's where the telescope can look out of. The slit can close in order to protect that telescope from the elements if it needs it, or during the daytime when you're not using it. One of the things I don't know about this golem is, usually that dome can turn 360 degrees so that you can see almost anything in the sky that's visible from where your location is. So I bet this one may not turn 360, but if you asked the golem nicely, I bet he would turn to look at the thing that you're interested in. The other thing that I really enjoy about this card is that the golem is climbing up a mountain. oftentimes we try to get our ground-based telescopes as high as we can, as give it as much altitude as we can. Why is that? Well, if you think about looking at the night sky, and I hope you've had a chance to look at the night sky. I know it can be hard to see stars, though, in some of the regions that have a lot of light pollution, but if you ever get a chance, go out and make sure to look at the stars. And when you do, you will notice that they appear to twinkle a little bit. Now, this isn't the light from the star itself twinkling, it's the light as it passes through our atmosphere, getting bumped around basically by the particles in our atmosphere. And so it's very pretty to look at, but when you're trying to take very precise astronomical measurements, it can get in the way of that. And so we put our telescopes as high as we can in order to get, as little atmosphere between us and the light in our data. So those are just a couple of things that I noticed in Century Spice and why I really enjoyed finding this card. If you find something in a board game that delights you, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, grab a cup of tea and enjoy the rest of your tea time.
So now is the time for me to give a couple of recommendations on what you can check out that I've enjoyed recently on the internet. Kovray did a cool collaboration with a load of creators about Polyomino games. I love me some Polyominoes and collaborations, and Rolling with Two, who you saw earlier, was part of that collaboration, so definitely go and check that out and share the love there. If you're looking for something that was a little bit of fun, go and check out Game Court's Top 10 Don'ts During a Gaming Session. There's some little sketches in there which make it a little bit funny, but also some good things not to do during a gaming session, although I've definitely done a bad teach, which was one of their points, so go and check that out. Now let's hand over to Josh Yaks to tell you a little bit about himself and his YouTube channel in the Spotlight Creator segment.
Hey Ollie, it's so nice of you to give me an opportunity to tell you a little bit more about myself. So in terms of who I am and what my channel is about, who am I? That's the eternal question, isn't it? But fortunately, it's an easy answer. I've personally always said you don't need to figure out who you are. Who you are is what you do. The actions you do determine who you are, and by that metric, the fact that I put most of my own time and energy into being the best dad I can possibly be means that I am first and foremost a dad. Now, if we're talking career stuff, I am on paper an advanced care paramedic with Toronto Paramedic Services. However, the reality of my situation is that for the past several years now, I've been permanently disabled as a result of physical illnesses that are kind of centered around Crohn's disease, and then mental health issues caused by PTSD. So I am disabled, and those disabilities do actually interfere with my ability to play games and kind of meet people and hang out with groups of people and play games and that sort of thing. But thankfully, I do have at least one good adult gaming friend who I can play with regularly. As far as what my channel is about, I mean, that's kind of an awkward question because I decided very early on in my YouTube experience, I started YouTube probably about 5 years ago. I have close to 250 videos on my channel now, and I decided early on that I was going to focus on doing what makes me happy, not what's going to bring me YouTube success. So instead of making a very laser focused channel on a specific topic, I decided to talk about a wide range of things that are largely related to unplugged hobbies, but definitely the two major subjects that I focus on with my channel are board games and books in particular. My YouTube channel does have quite a few playlists where all the other stuff is sorted into playlists like music and minis painting and several other topics. And the other way I kind of decided to shoot myself in the foot with regards to YouTube success is I do kind of more long form content instead of kind of quick snappy videos. So I'll have book reviews that go almost an hour long in some cases. So in a nutshell, my channel is about things that interest me.
And now for some rapid fire questions. So Josh, what is your favourite game and favourite mechanism?
My number one game of all time is Gloomhaven. It kind of surprises me that I coincide with a lot of BGGers in that respect, because a lot of my favorites don't necessarily align with the most popular games on BGG. So for example, here are my top 25 games. You can see from this list that a lot of them aren't necessarily the highest rated games on Board Game Geek. If I had to pick a favorite mechanism, I would probably go with deduction. I really enjoy games that include an element of deduction, but where deduction isn't the entire game. Some of my very favorite games of all time are the Mr. Jack series of games. I really enjoy a game called The Boss that's really great to be played with 3 to 5 players, or with the expansion with 3 to 6. And then I've always enjoyed these one versus all hidden movement games, and my favorite of those games is Spectre Ops, although I've played quite a few of those games over the years. So deduction is definitely one of the elements that if it's in a game really excites me a lot.
What game has the best meeple in it?
There are some really great meeples out there, aren't there? There are some wonderful animal meeples in games like Mountain Goats. There are wonderful animal meeples in New York Zoo. There are really cool Western meeples in games like Flick 'em Up and Colt Express. I bought custom meeples for my copy of Pandemic Fall of Rome, but if I had to pick my favorite game for meeples, I would go with Ex Libris. They have just a wide variety of really cute and wonderful fantasy meeples, and in particular they have this great little gelatinous cube that I quite enjoy. So Ex Libris would probably be my pick for favorite meeples.
What was the last game you played?
The game I played most recently was Champions of Midgard with the Valhalla expansion. I played this 2-player with my primary gaming friend. It's a game that I did not enjoy when I played just the base game years ago. I found just the random element of the dice chucking and potentially losing your warriors that you were working to build up was a little bit too harsh, but when I added the Valhalla expansion to the game, that fixed all my problems with Champions of Midgard, and now I still enjoy it as a good combination of worker placement and dice chucking that is a lot of fun.
Outside of board gaming, what are your other hobbies?
In terms of my other hobbies, I imagine that, like a lot of you out there, I've been hit really hard with the rising interest rates, the overall rising cost of living, and I've really had to kind of cut out any hobby that costs me money. So basically, I used to really quite enjoy doing snowboarding in the winter and mountain biking in the summer until all my gear got really old and wore out and I couldn't afford to buy more. And I used to enjoy going out to punk shows and spending some time in mosh pits on a fairly regular basis. However, I don't necessarily get out and do that a lot anymore. I still enjoy spending time in the sunshine and fresh air in the summertime, especially just going for short jogs, or if I'm down at the beach, I'm the old guy who's walking around the beach with a metal detector, finding pop can tabs and bottle caps and other wonderful treasure like that. But nowadays, my 2 real primary hobbies are board gaming and reading. In terms of books, I do read a wide variety of genres, although in recent years I've really focused hard on the fantasy novels in particular, just because my brain has just really required that escapism. My number 1 fantasy novel of all time, if you're interested, is The Curse of Chalion by Lois McMaster Bujold. Just an absolutely wonderful book. But really, besides being a dad, the only thing that really gives me a sense of fulfillment in life is the ability to express myself creatively in a variety of ways. So I have dabbled a little bit with writing, and I would love someday to have the ability to sit down and write some books, maybe a nonfiction memoir about my 16-year career as a paramedic and the ways in which it kind of broke me down physically and mentally. I'd love to write a fantasy novel, so that's something that if I have a lot of time and energy in the future, I'd love to do a little bit more with. I like to fool around just a little bit on the piano and the guitar. Years ago when I was a kid, I got my grade 8 conservatory piano, and then I taught myself just some basic chords on the guitar and have dabbled a bit with some songwriting on the guitar in particular. I enjoy a bit of crafting and enhancing my board game components, so creating custom game components is something that I do occasionally, and painting minis is also kind of one of the major ways that I like to express myself creatively these days. I've dabbled a little bit with board game design, and I have ideas floating around in my head. Especially, I would love to create a cooperative paramedic game that could kind of sit alongside the co-op games Flashpoint Fire Rescue from the firefighting point of view and Police Precinct from the law enforcement side of things. So I would love to have that paramedic co-op game out there at some point. But really, most of my free time these days is spent recording and editing YouTube videos, so that's kind of what takes up a lot of my free time now.
What can people expect to see on your channel in the next few weeks?
In terms of upcoming videos over the next few weeks, I will be talking about the board games that I played in the month of October. I'm going to be doing a book review of a best-selling novel that I did not enjoy. I'm going to be doing a video about a Toronto punk show that I attended a little while back. And that'll keep me busy over the next several weeks, so you can see from that just how kind of eclectic my YouTube channel is. I want to thank Ollie and my fellow Tabletop Tea Time contributors for making this a fun video, and I look forward to working more with you in the future. Cheers.
Thanks to Josh for taking on some very, very hard rapid fire questions and giving you a little bit more details about his channel. And that's what we want to do with Tabletop Tea Time. Each month we're going to have a creator put in the spotlight so you can learn a little bit more about them. And now for something a little bit different, I'm going to hand over to past me, who was interviewing Carl, the designer of Kelp, a brand new 2-player asymmetric game that's going to be on Kickstarter. I thought I'd give you a glimpse into that interview because it was pretty cool talking to him. What would you say you learnt from the design process that might help future designers?
One of the biggest things I've learned whilst working on Kelp and my other designs has been to rather focus on the experience you want your player to have. Maybe more so than thinking about theme or mechanism first, thinking about how you want your players to feel. Do you want them to feel the thrill of danger? Do you want them to feel the satisfaction of completing goals? Do you want them to feel like they can be cunning or that they'll be powerful or rich or whatever it might be, and then use that experience to then drive your design and to then think about, well, what's the mechanisms, what are the themes and settings that can best play into that. And, you know, very early on, although it was an idea for Kelp for me to have an octopus and a shark, I really wanted to carry that emotional experience from Netrunner, right? And those games that I like, very head-to-head 2-player games, where one player's got a back against the wall kind of heart pounding, they're on me kind of feeling, and the other player is deducing what's going on and being clever that way and pounding on their door. And that was the kind of emotional experience that drove my initial designs and then throughout my design process, but it also defined the questions that I would ask playtesters, and I would really try to dig into, well, what was the emotional arc of the game. And another thing that I've learned about design is that in an ideal game, you want every turn to either increase the tension or release the tension. And over the course of a game, you want the increases of tension to get more and more and more, and that's your kind of game arc until the biggest release of tension comes on the final turn. And I think thinking about that idea and what is playing into that when you're constructing your game, and you know, what can you shave off if it's not increasing tension or not releasing tension, and how can you make a bigger payoff? For me, the biggest example in Kelp is when the octopus gets caught, it's not the end of the game. The shark may reveal the octopus and attack them, but there is this thing called the final confrontation, and both players play cards. The octopus has 3 escape strategies, the shark has 3 counters to those strategies, and each player plays a card simultaneously face down, and then they reveal them. If they're matching, the shark has found the octopus or has blocked the octopus's escape and has caught them and killed them. Or if they play different cards, then the octopus gets to escape, but they don't get to use that escape again. So that means the second time they get caught, it's a 50-50 chance that they will escape. And the third time they get caught, it's 100%. And that really ratchets up the tension throughout the game. And while each player's also trying to achieve their own goals, the octopus is trying to eat all of their food or just survive, and the shark is trying to find the octopus, each one of those goals is also tracked on the board, and they go towards a final destination. And that's the the end of the game and the victory condition for one of those two sides. And so that's another way of me ratcheting up the tension, hopefully on each turn, and so that it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until that final payoff when they flip those cards and one of the players has won and the other's lost.
And well, that about wraps up today's show. If you want to see that full interview, well, it's already live on the channel, so go and check that out. Importantly, check out all of the creators that were on today's show. The links to their channels will be in the description box down below, so there's no excuse. Go check them out, share the love, because that is what this is all about. And well, thank you for watching, and I hope that you've enjoyed your tea time.